Hey there, welcome back to Morrowind. Now that we've united all the native tribes and great houses of Morrowind to join us in our war banner against Daggoth Ur, we have finally earned the attention of the tribunal god and our old friend and murderer, Lord Vivec, and he's invited us to have a chat. So, let's talk to him. The way dear friends do, by shooting him in the face with an arrow. How you doing, Vivec? He didn't like that, apparently. Okay, let's have an actual chat with him then. It is possible to kill Vivec if I just evade all his attacks. But he wanted a chat, so let's give him a chat. I'm just going to go up to your level. Hi, Vivec. How are you doing, old friend? You just relax in the air and then we'll chat. There we go. I expected you. We have business, you and I. When I was young like you, I was very impatient, so I will keep our business short. Then, later, there may be time for other things. First, I propose to remove my curse upon the Nerevarine, end the persecution of the dissident priests, and proclaim to all Morrowind that Rag is the incarnate and Nerevarine, with the prophesied saviour of Morrowind, and the last hope to withstand the menace of Daggoth Ur and the Sixth House. These things I will do, whether you wish or not. Next, I propose to surrender to you the power and responsibility of defeating Daggoth Ur. You may choose or refuse. I will not compel you. You will receive a power as a gift in the form of an artifact called Wraithguard. You may accept the gift, then do with it as you will. You will receive the responsibilities and oath. You may give your oath, then keep it or break it as you like. First, will you accept Wraithguard as a gift? Yes, I accept Wraithguard. Good, sensible of you. And now, will you give your oath before all gods and men, before all spirits visible and invisible, before my honour and your honour, to dedicate yourself and Wraithguard to the defeat and destruction of Daggoth Ur, and the preservation of Morrowind and its people? That was our plan all along. Not very sensible, but very good. I was hoping for someone who would have no hesitation about making such an oath. You will now have a brief, momentary sensation of time passing. Don't be alarmed, you are being taken out of time in order to avoid the unpleasant experience of learning how to use Wraithguard. It will be over before you know it. Now, I will notify the temple that you are our champion. There shall be no more persecution of the dissident priests, and I hope both sides shall swiftly be reconciled. We have time for questions if you like, or you may leave as you wish. But I think there are at least two things you ought to know before you leave. How to use Wraithguard, and how to defeat Daggoth Ur. I do like that it says there is a brief sensation of motion in total darkness, floating but without a sense of weight or direction, while he's teaching us. So we were given a unique dreamer artifact. If we just kill him and don't talk to him, we will receive a unique dreamer artifact. But due to speaking to him and getting that out-of-time experience, he's now let us know how to use Wraithguard, so it's now labelled as Wraithguard to us. So, tell us how to defeat Daggoth Ur. To defeat Daggoth Ur, go to Red Mountain to recover the artifact Hammer Sunder from Gate Citadel Vemnor. Then recover the artifact Blade Keening from Gate Citadel Ordrasol. Then proceed with Wraithguard, Sunder and Keening to the Citadel of Daggoth Ur. Within the Citadel, find the Heart of Lorkhan. Use the three artifacts to sever Daggoth Ur's connection to the heart and he will be destroyed, and the blight ended on Morrowind. To destroy Daggoth Ur, you must sever his connection with the Heart of Lorkhan. To do this, strike the heart with the artifact Hammer Sunder once, then strike the heart more than once with the artifact Blade Keening. You must wear Wraithguard because you cannot handle either Sunder or Keening unless you are wearing Wraithguard. That is the short, simple explanation. Here is the long, detailed explanation, written down for your convenience. Read it, study it, commit it to memory. So, Vivec, being a tribunal god and one of the most important characters in the entire game, has a lot to talk about. So we are going to go through quite a lot of dialogue options with him, getting his view on the entire game story so far and what we have to do. First off, give us more information on Daggoth Ur. Daggoth Ur is the former Lord High Councillor of House Daggoth. He was of Lord Nerevar's generation, older than we, and a mighty sorcerer and enchanted in life. In his sustained shadow immortality, he appears to be a highly intelligent, severely deluded immortal monster with unparalleled supernatural abilities. He appears by turns lucid and deranged, compassionate and bestial, profoundly wise and profoundly disordered. In short, he is a mad god. Tell us about Red Mountain. In my library, I have made available 2 conflicting accounts of the events of Red Mountain. My own true account, and another false account common among the Ashlanders, and preserved in the Orpographer. I don't care which you believe, and whether you believe my account or not. I leave it up to you to judge which is true. Tell me about your library. I want your trust and willing cooperation, so I've had the priest make copies of a number of documents. They're here for you to read and take with you. Take a look at them. Help yourself. Now, it's time for us to get into quite a long list. So let's start with his business. Actually, and then let's also go to his counsel, his questions, and bitter reclamations. And we have all these options to talk about now. So let's start with business. Actually, I believe we've finished our business. I will notify the temple that you are our champion. There shall be no more persecution of the dissident priests, and I hope both sides shall swiftly be reconciled. Now you are my guest. I am your host, and we have time for explanations, or counsel, or questions, or bitter reclamations if you like. Or you may leave if you wish, as you wish, but I think before you leave you ought to know how to defeat Dagobert, and how to use your artifact, Wraithguard. So, tell us about explanations. You want to know why did I wage war on the Nerevarine? Why did I try to suppress the Orpographer? Why did I persecute the dissident priests? Why is Dagobert winning the war? How does the Tribunal fight Dagobert? What are Wraithguard's powers? Let's start with the war on the Nerevarine. Why have you been trying to murder us all the way through the game so far? Why did I try to kill you? Because you threatened the faith of my followers, and I needed their faith to hold back the darkness. And I thought you were my enemy, a pawn of the subtle Daedra Lord Azura, or a pawn of Emperor Uriel Septim, or a simple fraud, perhaps a hero, but not much of one if my faithful could destroy you. Now circumstances have altered. I need you, and you need me. So we may very well be a pawn of Azura, since she has been talking to us a lot, and Emperor Uriel Septim, but in the end of the day, we just want to defeat Dagobert, which is what you want as well, my friend. So tell me, why did you suppress the Orpographer? Because it was such an unfortunate mixture of truth, falsehood and speculation that I couldn't afford to manage the confused reaction of our faithful. Any doubt whatsoever weakened their faith, and we needed their faith to give us the power to maintain the ghost fence. In retrospect, perhaps we lost the faith of those we most needed, while preserving the faith of the meek and indifferent. Perhaps a mistake was made. Who can say? Tell us about your persecution of the dissident priests. Suppression and persecution of the dissidents is just one of the standard tools of statecraft. I believe we erred in trusting the judgment of Bel-Orsala. He and his ordinators served valiantly in the war against Dagobert. We mistook his misplaced zeal for energy and dedication. Mistakes were made, but no more. There shall be no more persecution of the dissident priests, and I hope both sides shall swiftly be reconciled. Now then, tell me why Dagobert is currently winning this war. Dagobert is winning because he is close to the source of power, Lorkhan's heart, and because he retains the passion of madness, while we have settled into the lonely and unrewarding posture of dogged dutifulness and perseverance. And finally, perhaps, because he is stronger and smarter than we are, and his followers are more fervent and fanatical. I believe we were careless and complacent and outwitted, and in the matter of denying the Nerevarine, we were foolish. Tell me about the Tribunal's fight of Dagobert. In the past, the Tribunal made seasonal campaigns to Red Mountain. We slew Dagobert and his kin, though the heart always revived them in time. Later, when we realized we couldn't destroy them, we created the Ghost Fence to contain the threat. These solutions were effective until Dagobert ambushed us and captured Sunder and Keening. Since that time, our fortunes have waned, and his increased. Next, tell me about Wraithguard's powers. Since we now have this artifact, let's learn about it. Wraithguard's primary function is to protect the wearer from the fatal energies of the artifacts Sunder and Keening. It also has minor protective enchantments against physical and magical damage that you may find useful. Thank you. we are now going to be using that for the rest of the game, which is great. So then, next step, let's talk about Council. You need to know where is Dagor'Thur, what are Dagor'Thur's plans, who are Dagor'Thur's servants, who is Dagor'Thur, what are Dagor'Thur's powers, what is known about Dagor'Thur's defences, how can I prepare for battle? Well, that's one thing that at least doesn't have Dagor'Thur in the name. Oh, never mind, against Dagor'Thur. Who can help? Let's just learn about our enemy, Dagor'Thur, as much as we can, I guess. Dagor'Thur has never ventured out of the Heart Chamber, the place under Red Mountain where the heart of Lorkhan lies. It is there, or nearby, that he is constructing a new god, a Lucalan, also known as the Second Numidium. Well, that sounds important. What are his plans to do with this, then? We know nothing for sure, but we have learned much from interrogating Sixth House cultists and victims of dream compulsions, and from our study of Dagor'Thur's actions. The Temple Scholars and Inquisitors have prepared a document, Dagor'Thur's plans, that summarises what we know or suspect. Take this copy, it's also in my library. Next up, his servants. We fought a few of these already. Chief among his servants are his 7 brothers, the Ash Vampires, powerful heart-rights and cunning sorcerers of old. These creatures appear to die, but always are revived at the heart. Somehow Dagor'Thur has conferred some portion of his immortality among them, or perhaps they sustain themselves through more conventional sorcery. Next up, tell us... we already know who Dagor'Thur is, yes? Next up, Dagor'Thur's powers. He is able to send his mind into the dreams of susceptible victims, across vast distances. The victims are either swayed by his compulsions or driven mad. He also seems nearly invulnerable to physical and magical harm. His flesh, and the flesh of his followers, evolves towards a mutable magical form. Dagor'Thur in the highest ranks can control the distorted manifestations of their flesh. Lower ranks lose control of their bodies and become mindless corpus monsters. So at least now we know where the corpus disease comes from. What are his defences? Confer with the Ordinators and Brilliant Armingers garrisoning Ghost Gates for the latest information about the defences of citadels of Dagor'Thur and his Heartright kin. Let's see, how do I prepare for battle? Prepare for war, not battle. Beyond the Ghost Fence, there are no safe places, no allies. Stockpile resources, plan for retreat and replenishment, quest for artifacts of power. Next up, who can help? Ordinators and Buoyant Armingers stationed at Ghostgate have the most practical knowledge of a nightmare ward inside Ghost Fence. Seek them out, in my name, for counsel and aid. Right, so we've gone through all our counsel. So next up, let's ask him questions. You are curious what really happened at Red Mountain? What really happened to the Dreamer? What was the Dreamer's sin? What is it like to be a god? Yeah, I wonder about that, mate. Do I remember being mortal? How do I feel about the people of Morrowind? Do you know what happened to the Dreamer? Because the Grand Master of the Mages Guild asked us to find out about them. I have no idea what happened to the Dreamer. I have no sense of them in my timeless divine world outside of mortal time, and in fact, if I did believe they existed, I would be in no hurry to make contact with them. They may, with some justice, hold the Dunmer race responsible for their fate. My intuition is that they are gone forever, and that is perfectly fine with me. Tell me about the Dreamer's sin. The sin of a Dreamer was the creation of a new god from the sustenance of a dead god, Lorkhan. That is also the sin for which we would destroy Dagor'Thur. I hesitate to call it sin, more properly call it destructive evil. The sin of a tribunal, however, is in the breaking of an oath to Azura to forbear from tapping the heart with Kagranev's tools, and in the folly of seeking to become gods. Breaking the oaths was evil, becoming gods was folly. If we sinned, we have paid the price. Right. Ask us about what's it like to be a god. It is like being a juggler. Things are always moving, and you learn to know where they are without even thinking about it. Only there are many, many things moving, and sometimes, like any juggler, you drop something. I'm afraid it has become a lot more of a matter of dropping things lately. There's too much to do, and not enough time, and I'm losing my touch. Perhaps I'm growing old. It is a bit like being at once awake and asleep. Awake, I am here with you, thinking and talking. Asleep, I am very, very busy. Perhaps for other gods, the completely immortal ones, it is only like that being asleep, out of time. Me, I exist at once inside of time and outside of it. It's nice never being dead too. When I died in the world of time, then I'm completely asleep. I'm very much aware that all I have to do is to choose to be awake, and I'm alive again. Many times I have very deliberately tried to wait patiently a very long time before choosing to wake up, and no matter how long it feels like I wait, it always appears when I wake up that no time has passed at all. That is the God place, the place out of time, where everything is always happening, all at once. That's quite retrospective of you, Vivek. Do you remember being mortal? I remember. I do not feel it. I can, if I choose, remember the feeling, but I do not choose. It is very, very sad being mortal. There is happiness, yes, but mostly sadness. As I have said, count only the happy hours. For mortals, they are all too few, but for gods, for me, there is no more feeling, only knowing. Not quite no more feeling. I still want to win. I want to defeat Dagobah. Perhaps I have lost the feeling for the people, for their suffering. I don't want that feeling. It is of no use to me. That is no longer what matters to me. I only want not to lose. To not lose would be very, very bitter. How do you feel about the people of Morrowind? I love the people of Morrowind. I became a god to make their lives more comfortable and secure. I am most close to my faithful followers. I am literally in their hearts and minds. I feel the most sympathy for the House Rodrin. They are Dunmer driven by creeds and deeds like I am. House Indral is closer to the compassion and sympathy of Almalexia, a comfortable and secure serenity. House Telvanni matches the disposition of my brother Sopha Sil. Iconalistic, profane, unconventional. House Halu represents the future of the Dunmer, integrated into a more sophisticated mainstream of the traditionalist, raceless, godless cultures of the Empire. House Dress represents the past of a pre-tribunal Great House culture, a persistent tradition of Deirdre and ancestor-worshipping civilized Dunmer clans, and I even love the Ashlanders for their preservation of the most ancient barbarian tribal traditions of the Dunmer who first settled Morrowind. I believe that was everything about questions. It was. What was next on the business? Bitter recriminations. Let's finish with this because this is kind of more personal to us. You want to chide me. Why did I murder Nerevar? Why did I break my oath to Azura not to use Kagrenek's tools? Why did I cause others to suffer? Yeah, why did you murder us in our previous life? Like, that's kind of a big deal, mate. We did not murder Nerevar. The legend that we murdered Nerevar comes from a story told by a shield companion to Nerevar, Andral Osul, who lived among the Ashlanders. The Ashlanders have retained Orlando Osul's accounts as part of their oral histories. The account is persuasive in some details, implausible in others, and is in most cases false. I have 2 accounts of Nerevar's death here in my library. Read them and judge for yourself. I will judge for myself, thank you very much. So why did you break your oath to Azura? Along with Lord Nerevar, and at his insistence, Almalexia, Sopha Sil and I swore before our god of oaths at the time, the Daedra Lord Azura, never to employ the tools of Kagrenek for any purpose. We broke our oaths. We turned our backs on the old gods. I still see no compelling reason to worship any of the Aedra or Deirdre, but for the respect I held for Nerevar, and the respect I held for myself, I should never have betrayed my oath. Of all my life's actions, I most regret that failure. How about causing others to suffer? Why did I cause others to suffer? I respect that question, and you for it. The most I can say is, I did the best I could. As I saw things, can you, mortal, presume to judge the actions and motives of a god? But, because I need you, and you need me, I will make an accounting for my sins to you, but not now. Destroy Dagobah, and then we will discuss my sins. then perhaps you'll have earned the right to judge me. That was a lot of detail, but I believe that was everything that we wanted to talk to him about. Thanks, Vivek, our old friend. So here is Wraithguard. It is heavy armor. We do prefer light armor, but of course this is like the best piece of armor in the game. So it's a constant effect. It's worth, I think that's 5 million. That's brilliant. It's a constant effect and gives us shield 10 points on self, reflect 20%, resist blight 50%, resist shock 10%, resist fire, resist frost, resist magic, and resist poison 10%. So we now resist magic 90% combined with our Cuirass of the Saviour's Hide and our Ring of Firemaster. Let's equip Wraithguard. So here's Wraithguard. It is on our right glove. So we're going to keep this for the rest of the game. Good meeting you, Vivek. So, before we leave, he did ask us to read some of the books here. Here is his library. Plans to defeat Dagobah, the Battle of Red Mountain, Dagobah's clan, their plans, and Nerevar at Red Mountain. Let's read these. I think we already have our plan to defeat Dagobah. We'll read that last. First off, let's find out about us, because apparently he says he didn't murder us. Let's see if this shines more light on that. Nerevar at Red Mountain. The following is from the Apocrypha, the hidden writings of a tribunal temple. It is a scholarly retelling of a tradition transmitted through the Ashlanders concerning the battle at Red Mountain and subsequent events. The Ashlanders associate this tale with the telling of Alondro Sul, a shield companion of Nerevar who came to live among the Ashlanders after the death of Nerevar and during the ascension of the tribunal. There are many, let's go down a bit, variant treatments of this story, but the primary elements are consistent throughout the tradition. The murder of Nerevar, the tragic fate of the Dagobah, and the profane source of the tribunal's divine power are denied by temple doctrine as ignorant Ashlander superstition, are not widely known among civilized Dunmer. Raisdane, present-day Morrowind, was contested ground beneath two very different types of Mer, the Chimer, who worshipped Daedra, and the Dreamer, who worshipped a profaned and secret power. These two people warred with each other constantly until their land was invaded by a young, vibrant and volatile alien culture, the Nords. Two heroes, one from the Chimer and one from the Dreamer, Indro Nerevar and Jumak Dwarfork, made peace between their people and together ousted the alien invaders. Then these two heroes worked long and hard to maintain the peace thereafter. Though their counsellors thought it could not last, or worse, that it shouldn't, Nerevar's queen and his generals Almalexia, Sophasil and Vivek told him to claim all Raisdane for their own, but Nerevar would not listen, for he remembered his friendship with Jumak. There would be only priests. So Nerevar's queen was Almalexia, apparently. So I believe we were married to Almalexia in our last life. That's brilliant. Hopefully we'll get to see her soon. That would be great. Until Dagobah arrived, House Dagoth had discovered the source of the profane and secret power of the Dreamer, the legendary heart of Lorkhan, which Jumak's people had used to make themselves immortal and beyond the measure of the gods. In fact, one of their high priests, Kagranek, was building a new god so that the Dreamer could claim Raisdane for their own. The tribunal urged Nerevar again to make war on the dwarves. Nerevar was troubled. He went to Jumak, his friend of old, and asked if what Dagobah said was true, but Kagranek and the high priest of the Dreamer had kept their new god secret from their king, and Jumak said the Dreamer were innocent of any wrongdoing. Nerevar was troubled again and made pilgrimage to Holomaean, the sacred temple of Azura, who confirmed that all that Dagobah said was indeed true, and that the new god of the Dreamer should be destroyed for the safety of not only Raisdane, but for the whole world. When Nerevar went back and told his tribunal what the goddess had said, his queen and generals felt themselves proved alright, and again counselled him to war. There were reasons that the Dreamer and Chimer had hated each other forever. There were reasons that the Dreamer and Chimer had hated each other forever. Okay. Finally, Nerevar, angered that his friend Jumak would lie to him, went back to Vorinclev, this time to the Chimer king. This time, the Chima king was arrayed in arms and armour, and his hosts around him, and he spoke harshly to Jumak Dwarfork, king of Red Mountain. "You must give up your worship of the heart of Lorkhan, or I shall forget our friendship and the deeds that once accompanied in its name." And Jumak, who still knew nothing of Kagrenek's new god, but proud and protective as ever for his people, said, "We shall not relinquish that which has been our way for years beyond reason, beyond reckoning. Just as the Chima will not relinquish their ties to the lords and ladies of Oblivion, and to come at my door in this way, arrayed in arms and armour, with your hosts around you, tells me that you have already forgotten our friendship. Stand down, my sweet Nerevar, or I swear by the 15 golden tones, I shall kill you and all of your people." And so the Chima, the Dreamer, went to war. The Dreamer were well defended by their fortresses at Red Mountain, but the bravery and cleverness of Nerevar's queen and generals drew most of Jumak's armies out into the field and kept them there so that Nerevar and Dagorthur could make their way into the Heart Chamber by secret means. There Nerevar met Jumak and the Dwarf King, and they both fell from grievous wounds. Let's see, so Nerevar met Jumak and the Dwarf King, and they both fell from grievous wounds. So apparently we were killed, according to this anyway, by Jumak. Wouldn't have been a bad way to go, I guess, since he used to also be our friend. And there's a lot of friend killing going on in this story so far. Dagorthur slew Kagrenek and took the tools the Dreamer used to tap the powers of a heart. He went to his dying Lord Nerevar and asked him what to do with these tools, and Nerevar summoned Azura again, and she showed them how to use the tools to separate the power of the heart from the Dreamer people. And on the fields, the Tribunal and their armies watched as the Dreamer turned into dust all around them. Their stolen immortality was taken away. Back in Red Mountain, Nerevar told Dagorthur to protect the tools in the Heart Chamber until he returned. Dagorthur said, "But shouldn't we destroy these tools at once, so that they might never be used for evil again?" But Nerevar was confused by his wounds and his sorrow, for he still loved Jumak and the Dreamer people, and so went to the fields outside of Red Mountain to confer with his queen and his generals, who had foreseen that this war would have come, and whose counsel he would not ignore again. "I will ask the Tribunal what we shall do with them, for they have had the wisdom in the past that I had not. Stay here, loyal Dagorthur, until I return." So Dagorthur did tell us that he was only following our orders, and that we murdered him afterwards for only doing what he said. So this is actually fact. So we are responsible for turning Dagorthur evil, to be honest. Like, maybe it's partly his responsibility as well, but we really have something to do with it. Then Nerevar told his queen and generals all that had transpired under Red Mountain, and how the Dreamer had used special tools to turn their people into immortals, and of the wondrous power of the heart of Lorkhan. The Tribunal decided that the Chima should learn how to use this power so that Nerevar might claim Raisden and the world for their people. Nerevar did not expect or want this, so he asked his queen and his generals to help him summon Azura yet again for her guidance, but the Tribunal had become as greedy as Kagrenek upon hearing of the power of the heart, and they coveted it. They made ritual as if to summon Azura as Nerevar wanted, but Almalexia used poisoned candles and Silversil used poisoned robes, and Vivec poisoned invocations. Nerevar was murdered. So we were murdered after all. But apparently we were already sort of dying from our friends lethally wounding us, but then we were murdered by those three while trying to summon Azura. Then Azura came forth anyway, and cursed the Tribunal for their foul deeds. She told them that she would use her power over Dusk and Dawn to make sure Nerevar would come back and make things right again, but the Tribunal laughed at her and said that soon they would be gods themselves and that the Chima people would forget their old ways of worship, and Azura knew this would be true, and that it might take a very long time before her power might bring Nerevar back. "What you have done here today is foul beyond measure, and you will grow to regret it, for the lives of the gods are not what mortals think, and matters that weigh only years to mortals weigh on gods forever. And so, that they might know forever their wicked deeds, Azura changed the Chima into Dunmer, and their skin turned ashens, and their eyes into fire. Let this mark remind you of your true selves who, like ghouls, fed on the nobility, heroism, and trust of their king." And then the Tribunal went into Red Mountain and met with Dagorthur. Dagorthur saw what had been done, for his skin had changed as well, and he tried to avenge the death of Nerevar, but to no avail. He was driven off and thought dead. The tribunal found the tools that he had been guarding, and through study of Kagrenek's method, turned themselves into gods. Thousands of years after their apotheosis, the tribunal was still the gods of Morrowind, and the old ways of worship are remembered only by a few, and the murder of Nerevar is known to fewer, but his queen and generals still fear his return, for their words of Azura linger long, and they see the mark of her curse on their people to this very day. So it is worth mentioning that if we go back... Hi mate. You can notice that his skin is two different colours. The left side is the original skin colour of the Chima people, and the right side is the Dunmer people. So he's kind of like was forced to be living proof of what had been done. Let's have a read of Dagorthur's plans. We already have an idea of this, but let's have a little bit more. Wow, this is a really long one. Oh boy, we're going to be here for a while. From interrogation of captured sleepers and other Sigthows cultists, from study of manuscripts written by cultists and victims of dream-induced mania, from interviews with Lord Vivec concerning historical campaigns against Red Mountain, and from broad conjecture and inferences made upon these materials, this is our best estimate of Dagorthur's motivations and objectives in this most recent phase of his war upon Morrowind. His basic objectives: number 1, establish a theocracy in Morrowind based on the worship of a newborn god Alucard, second Numidium, to be created by Dagorthur from the heart of Lorkhan, and a body constructed according to the principles and rituals pioneered by the dreamer Kagrenek. Establish the ancient heirs of the House Dagoth as the god priests of Alucard, and the 6th House of Dagorthur as the dominant political power in Morrowind. Through charismatic conversion, unite the Dunmer under the guidance of Dagorthur to battle against the foreign animals who hold Morrowind in subjection. Note: Dagorthur has apparently adopted the views and motivations of the dreamer High Craftlord Kagrenek. In effect, he recapitulates the ancient blasphemous folly of the dreamer. Number 2. Expose the false worship of the tribunal and destroy the Ascension authority and political power of the temple. How much of a distant priest and the cult of the Nerevarine may be controlled or influenced by the 6th House is in regards to open speculation. Number 3. Is that extirpate all remaining individuals of inferior and mongrel races from Morrowind? Basically get rid of everyone who isn't Dunmer. Number 4. Drive the Empire from Morrowind. Number 5. Recover ancient territories stolen by Skyrim and Argonia. Number 6. Extend the worship of Alucard to all nations of Tamriel through subversion and conquest. Plans to establish and expand the 6th House. Phase 1. Secure Red Mountain against tribunal intrusion. Deny tribunal access to the heart, weakening the temple while securing Red Mountain for the creation of Alucard. Keep the construction of the 2nd Numidium a secret. Is it Alucard? It's like a Kulakan, I guess it is. My bad. Phase 2. Create a passive servant in ever-widening circles around Red Mountain by broadcasting compulsions couched in dreams, imagery to susceptible subjects in their sleep. Establish a major operational base at Kogarun for further operations in the Ash Wastes. Establish smaller bases near small port villages and in lower-class waterfront districts in Vivec. Infiltrate and subvert smuggling syndicates. Recruit willing followers from disaffected populations, including the underworld, the poor, the rabid, anti-imperial activists. Phase 3. Expand from smaller bases to other towns and villages, and recruit and indoctrinate subjects made susceptible to dream sendings. Occupy abandoned towers and ruins, and train corrupted cultists as raiders and irregular troops. Identify, discredit, and decimate possible sources of political resistance. I've got to put it to him, right? For as insane and evil and trying to just create this new god as Dagorthur is, he's thought this through really well. Like, he's got a proper plan with how to, like, spread his power out. Number 4. Use assassination and terror to weaken, distract and disrupt the legions and their imperial bureaucracy, along with Halu sympathizers. Inspire popular uprisings of the native poor against the foreign rich and powerful. Summon sleepers and dreamers to Dagorthur to work on the 2nd Numidium. Inferring Dagorthur's perspectives. Dagobert thinks on a large time scale, for the most part in the outside of time scale of a divine consciousness. He thinks that only obstacles of mythic scale are worth consideration. He believes he is fated to rule Morrowind, to free Morrowind of the Empire, and to become the new hard-loving father of Morrowind. Given that perspective, the only opposing forces Dagobert worries about are the Tribunal, the Daedra, the Emperor, and the Incarnate. Yeah, baby. We're one of the main things that he fears. You gotta love it. With the Tribunal's loss of Sunder and Keening, and the diminishing resources of Vivec, Almalexia and Sopher Sill, Dagobert believes he has permanently gained a decisive strategic advantage on a mortal timescale. The battle may last for centuries, but the outcome is not in doubt, and Akula Khan may be a device for dramatically reducing the timescale for a decisive victory. The myth of dynamic invincibility of the Emperor and the Empire has long been an unquantifiable and intimidating threat, but recent rumours of unrest in Cyrodiil, the Emperor's failing health, and the unsettled question of a succession have diminished the scale of that threat. Nonetheless, the revelation that the Nerevarine is a pawn of the Imperial intelligence, hand-picked and sent to Morrowind by the Emperor himself, may cause Dagobert considerable anxiety. Yeah, he's been getting in touch with us a lot. Like, he's clearly been kind of put off by our presence. The Daedra represent no coherent obstacle to Dagobert. Nonetheless, their personal abilities and their influence upon the fanatic followers is considerable, their motives and actions obscure, and Dagobert remains concerned about them. There's just something about like this slightly too big text size that for some reason keeps putting me off my words, compared to reading from Vivec. The Incarnate represents Saint Nerevar, a mythic force that has previously defeated Dagobert, and Dagobert is obsessed with this threat. At the same time, Dagobert knew Nerevar personally, knew that he was a mortal man with faults and weaknesses. Dagobert may have some hope of seducing or negotiating with Nerevar's reincarnation. Further, when Nerevar and the Tribunal defeated Dagobert, they were strong and allied. Now the Nerevarine and the Tribunal are weak, opposed and divided. Therefore, though the Nerevarine and the Tribunal represent the most serious threat to Dagobert's plans, he still has good reason to believe that at this time he will prevail. A recent timescale of Dagobert's activities. Much of the following timescale is based on the inference from incomplete information. 4E2882. 882. Dagobert and his kin lie dreaming beneath the sills of Red Mountain. So that was a long time ago. Then Dagobert and his ash vampires awake, refreshed and emerge from lower Red Mountain into the Heart Chamber. Dagobert ritually binds himself and his brethren as heart rites in a ritual of his own devising. First stages of construction of the second Numidium, conceived during the long sleep, have begun, as heart rites and Atronachs constructs in a chamber near the heart of Lorkhan. Keeping the second Numidium project a secret from the Tribunal is a high priority. The Tribunal arrive at Red Mountain for their annual ritual, bathing in the heart's power. Dagobert and Ash vampires ambush the Tribunal. The Tribunates are driven away and prevented from restoring themselves with Kagrenek's tools at the heart of Lorkhan. Intermittent Tribunal campaigns assault Red Mountain. The Tribunal or supporting forces seek to force access to the Heart Chamber, but are repeatedly driven back. Dagobert recruits sleepers and dreamers. Through dream sendings, cultists are recruited. Through dream compulsions, weaker cultists become corpus beasts. Stronger cultists advance through stages towards the power of the ascended sleepers. Kogaroon reoccupation by Dagoth Ufal and fortified as an advanced base for 6th House operations. Blightstorms more frequent and widespread. Soul sickness spreads in regions close to Red Mountain. 6th House base founded near Narmak and in waterfront areas in Vivec. 6th House operatives exploit smuggler organisations and communications to further spread influence among victims unbalanced by Dagobert's dream sendings. Small cells of 6th House cultists in every town in Vorianfell. Larger 6th House operations are concealed in remote dungeons where creatures are bred and cultists are trained for the coming struggle. Almalexia and Sopher Sill lose the artifacts Keening and Sunder to Dagoth Odros and Dagoth Themin. Vivec rescues Almalexia and Sopher Sill, but failing to recover Keening and Sunder, the Tribunals retreat from Red Mountain in disorder, surviving buoyant armistices Our magic companions know the tribunal was forced to retreat, but do not know how serious a reversal the tribunal has suffered. The 3 tribunes return to their respective capitals and continue to perform their ritual functions. The tribunes continue to grow weaker without access to the heart, and because of resources required to support the ghost fence, the inner circle of the temple priesthood has begun to suspect the tribunes have suffered seriously from wounds and demoralization in the wake of reverses at Red Mountain, but do not recognize the scale of the problem. Campaigns of Sixth House assassinations of prominent Imperial citizens and Halu Imperial sympathizers showed an increase in number and seriousness of attacks by cultists and victims deranged by soul sickness. Noted with concern, number 1. Daggerfur can apparently perceive and communicate directly through his cultists. Sleepers and dreamers are often reported speaking as though with Daggerfur's voice and intention. Number 2. Little is known about the features, scale or stage of completion of Aklukan, that's the one, isn't it? Yeah. Second Numidium. No one has gained entrance to the Heart Chamber since E2 282. In E3 417, Keening and Sunder were captured and may substantially aid in Aklukan's construction. Right. Next up, the battle at Red Mountain. The following is a transcript of the words of Lord Vivek, addressed to a distant priest Malor Omain, who confronted Vivek with the Ashlander traditions surrounding the battle at Red Mountain, and with the prophecies of a Nerevarine, and to unnamed magistrates of the Inquisition who joined Vivek in interrogating the distant priests. Who can clearly recall the events of the distant past, but you have asked me to tell you, in my own words, the events surrounding the battle at Red Mountain, the birth of a tribunal and the prophecies of a Nerevar reborn. Here is what I can tell you. When the Chima first abandoned the herds and tents of their nomadic ancestries, and built the first great houses, we loved the Daedra, and worshipped them as gods, but our brethren, the Dreamer, scorned the Daedra, and mocked our foolish rituals, and preferred instead their gods of reason and logic. So the Chima and Dreamer were always at bitter war until the Nords came and invaded Raisdun. Only then did the Chima and Dreamer put away their strife and join together to cast out the invaders. Once the Nords were driven out, General Nerevar of the Chima and General Jumak of the Dreamer, who had come to love and respect one another, resolved to make peace between their peoples. In that time, I was but a junior counsellor to Nerevar, and to Nerevar's queen, Almalexia, and his other favourite counsellor, Sophasil, always doubted that such a peace might long survive, given the bitter disputes between Chima and Dreamer. But by negotiation and compromise, Nerevar and Jumak somehow managed to preserve a fragile peace. But when Daggerfur, Lord of House Dagoth and trusted as a friend by both Nerevar and the Dreamer, brought us proof that High Engineer Kagrenek of the Dreamer had discovered the heart of Lorcan, and that he had learned how to tap its powers, and was building a new god, a mockery of the Chima faith, and a fearsome weapon, we all urged Nerevar to make war on the dwarves, and to destroy the threat for Chima belief and security. Nerevar was troubled. He went to Jumak and asked if what Daggerfur said was true, but Kagrenek took great offence and asked whom Nerevar thought he was, that he might presume to judge the affairs of a Dreamer. Nerevar was further troubled and made pilgrimage to Holmlein, the sacred temple of Azura, and Azura confirmed that all that what Daggerfur said was indeed true, that the creation of a new god of a Dreamer should be prevented at all costs. When Nerevar came back and told us what the goddess had said, we felt our judgments confirmed, and again counselled him to war, chiding Nerevar for his naive trust and friendship, and reminding Nerevar of his duty to protect the faith and security of the Chima against the impiety and dangerous ambitions of a Dreamer. Then Nerevar went back to Vorenfell one last time, hoping that negotiations and compromise might once again preserve the peace, but this time the friends Nerevar and Jumak quarrelled bitterly, and as a result the Chima and Dreamer went to war. The Dreamer were well defended by their fortress at Red Mountain, but Nerevar's cunning drew most of Jumak's armies out into the field, and pinned them there, while Nerevar, Daggerfur, and a small group of companions could make their way into the Heart Chamber by secret means. There Nerevar, the Chima King, met Jumak the Dwarf King, and they both collapsed from grievous wounds and draining magics. With Jumak fallen and threatened by Daggerfur and others, Kagrenek turned his tools upon the heart, and Nerevar said he saw Kagrenek and all the Dreamer companions at once disappear from the world. In that instant, Dreamer everywhere disappeared without a trace. but Kagrenev's tools remained, and Dagobert seized them, and he carried them to Nerevar, saying, "That fool Kagrenav has destroyed his own people with these things. We should destroy them, right away, lest we fall into the wrong hands." Let's see, so Dagobert is the one who did say this. So Dagobert was the one to begin with who started originally wanting to destroy the things that he's now using. But Nerevar was resolved to confer with his queen and his generals, who had foreseen that this war would come, and whose counsel he would not ignore again. "I will ask the tribunal what we shall do with them, for they have had wisdom in the past, but I had not. Stay here, loyal Dagobert, until I return." So Nerevar told Dagobert to protect the tools in the heart chamber until he returned. Then Nerevar was carried to us, where he waited on the slopes of Red Mountain, and he told us all that had transpired under Red Mountain. What Nerevar had said was that the Dreamer had used special tools to turn their people into immortals, and that the Heart of Lorkhan held wondrous powers. Only later did we hear from others present that Dagobert had fought the Dreamer destroyed, not made immortal, and no one knows for sure what really happened there. After hearing Nerevar, we gave our counsel, as he requested, proposing we should preserve these tools in trust for their welfare of the Chima people, and who knows, perhaps the Dreamer are not gone forever, but merely transported to some distant realm from which they may someday return to threaten our security once again. Therefore, we need to keep these tools to study them and their principles so that we may be safe in future generations. And though Nerevar voiced his grave misgivings, he was willing to be ruled over by our council, under one condition, that we all together should swear a solemn oath upon Azura that the tools would never be used in a profane manner, for the Dreamer had intended. We all readily agreed and swore solemn oaths at Nerevar's dictation. So then we went with Nerevar back into Red Mountain and met with Dagobert. Dagobert refused to deliver the tools to us, saying that they were dangerous and that we could not touch them. Dagobert seemed to be irrational, insisting that only he could be trusted with the tools, and that we guessed that he might somehow be affected by his handling of the tools. But now I feel sure that he had privately learned the powers of the tools and had in some confused way decided he must have them for himself. Then Nerevar and our guard resorted to force to secure the tools. Somehow Dagobert and his retainers escaped, but we gained the tools and delivered them to Sopher Sill for study and safekeeping. For some years, we kept the oaths to swore to Azura with Nerevar, but during that time, in secret, Sopher Sill must have studied the tools and divined their mysteries, and at last he came to us with a vision of a new world of peace, with justice and honour for nobles, and health and prosperity for the commoners, with the tribunal as immortal patrons and guides. In dedicating ourselves to this vision of a better world, we made a pilgrimage to Red Mountain and transformed ourselves with the power of Kagrenev's tools. And no sooner than we had completed our rituals and began to discover our newfound powers, the Daedra Lord Azura appeared and cursed us for our forsworn oaths. By her powers of prophecy, she assured us that her champion, Nerevar, true to his oath, would return to punish us for our perfidy, and to make sure that our profane knowledge might never again be used to mock and defy the will of the gods. But Sopher Sill said to her, "The old gods are cruel and arbitrary and distant from the hopes and fears of Mer. Your age is past. We are the new gods, born of the flesh and wise and caring of the needs of our people. Spare us your threats and chiding, inconstant spirit. We are bold and fresh, and we will not fear you." And then in that moment, all Chima had changed into Dunmer, and our skins turned ashen and our eyes into fire. Of course, we only knew at that time that this had happened, and that this had happened to us. But Azura said, "This is not my act, but your act. You have chosen your fate, and the fate of your people, and all the Dunmer shall share your fate. From now to the end of time, you think yourselves gods, but you are blind, and all is darkness." And Azura left us alone in darkness, and we were all afraid. But we put on brave faces and went forth from Red Mountain to build a new world for our dreamers. And the new world we shaped was glorious and generous, and the worship of the Dunmer fervent and grateful. The Dunmer were at first afraid of their new faces, but Sopher Sill spoke to them, saying that it is not a curse but a blessing, a sign of their changed natures, and a sign of a special favour they might enjoy as a new Mer, no longer barbarians, trembling before ghosts and spirits, but civilized Mer, speaking directly to their immortal friends and patrons, the three faces of a tribunal. And we were all inspired by Sopher Sill's speech and visions, and took heart, and and over time we crafted the customs and institutions of a just and honourable society and the land of Raisden, new millennia of peace, equity and prosperity unknown to other savage races. But beneath Red Mountain, Dagorfur had survived, and even as the light of our bold new world shined ever more brightly beneath Red Mountain, the darkness gathered, a darkness that was close kin to the bright light of Sophasil, coped from the heart of Lorcan with the tools of Kagrenac. As the darkness grew, we fought it, and crafted walls to confine it, but we never could destroy it, for the source of the darkness was the same source as the source of our own divine inspiration. And in these latter days of Morrowind, reduced to a subjugated province of a Western Empire, and as the glory of the temple fades and the dark tide rises from Red Mountain, we are reminded of Azura and her promised champion's return. We have waited blind and in darkness, mere shadows drained of our ardent vision, in shame of our folly, in fear of our judgment, and in hope for our deliverance. We do not know if the Outlander claiming to fulfill the prophecies of a Nerevarine is our old companion Nerevar reborn, or a pawn of the Emperor, or a cat's paw of Azura, or a simple twist of fate. But we insist you adhere to temple doctrine, and conform to the strictures dividing the hierographer from the apocrypher, and that you not speak that which must not be spoken openly, and act as dutiful priests should, in accordance with your vows of obedience, and the canons and archcanons, and all will be forgiven. Defy me, and you will know what it is to stand against a god. So that's Vivek's view of what happened. Finally, let's read the plan of Dagorfur, and then I'll go over everything we've learnt, and then we'll call it an episode, or a part I should say, because this is just a really big amount of exposition and reading this part. The plan to defeat Dagorfur. So we were told roughly what to do, but this is the full details. For the past 20 years, the Tribunal have tried unsuccessfully to execute their plan. However, we failed because we were required to stage an assault and simultaneously maintain the ghost fence to prevent the threatened large-scale breakout of Dagorfur's blighted hosts. With the Nerevarine leading the assault, and the Tribunal free to devote their full energies to maintaining the ghost fence, their plan has a greater chance of success. Unfortunately, however, the loss of the artifacts Sunder and Keening and the recent increase in Dagorfur's strength poses new problems for the execution of our plan. Therefore, our proposed plan has the following 5 phases. So, Phase 1, a series of aggressive raids to scout inside the ghost fence. Phase 2, a series of aggressive raids to neutralise Dagorfur's Ash Vampire kin and recover artifacts from the bodies of his kin. Stage 3, an assault of Gate Citadel Vemiel to neutralise Dagorfame and recover the artifact hammer Sunder. Stage 4, an assault on Gate Citadel Ordosol and neutralise Dagoth Ordros and receive the artifact blade Keening. And Phase 5, an assault on Citadel Dagoth with the artifacts Wraithguard, Sunder and Keening to sever Dagorfur's connections to the heart of Lorcan and thus to destroy Dagorfur. Simple plan. Phase 1, raids inside the ghost fence. The Tribunal, Ordinators and Buoyant Armigers are familiar with the terrain and will provide maps and current intelligence reports. The region inside of Ghost Fence is dangerous, and the Nerevarine will need to be familiar with in particular challenges. After measuring skills and resources against Dagorfur's defences, the Nerevarine will know better how to pace a campaign. Alternating raids with improving skills, getting better equipment and stockpiling resources. Phase 2. Raids upon Ash Vampire Citadels. Dagorfur's kin have become markedly more powerful in recent decades. After remaining stable for thousands of years, if they can be individually isolated and destroyed, they will not be able to support Dagorfur in later stages of the war. It may also be a dramatic increase in their power comes from the items enchanted by Dagorfur. Salvage of such items might contribute to our resources. Phase 3. Assault on Gate Citadel Vemiel. Essential to recover the artifact hammer Sunder for Phase 5, the Ash Vampire Dagorfame has possession of Sunder and probably seeks to discover the secrets of its enchantments. We may also have access to notebooks and journals of Kagrenac that may have survived the Dreamer workshops of Vemiel. Phase 4. Assault on Gate Citadel Ordosol. Essential to recover the artifact blade Keening for Phase 5, the Ash Vampire Dagoth Odros has possession of Keening and probably seeks to discover the secrets of its enchantments. We may also have access to notebooks and journals of Kagroneks that have survived the Dreamer workshops of Oldersol. And finally, Phase 5, the Assault on Citadel Dagoth. All the previous stages are preparation for this stage. Recent expeditions show that Citadel Dagoth has undergone extensive expansion. The location will need to be explored carefully. The known route to the Heart Chamber will be well defended. Alternative routes may exist. Dagobert will have anticipated our plan to destroy him by attacking the Heart, and he will almost certainly personally oppose approaching to the Heart Chamber. Together, the Tribunal could not defeat him, and he has grown stronger since then. Admittedly, the Tribunal had the distraction of maintaining the Ghost Fence simultaneously with the fighting of Dagobert, but even so, the challenge seems daunting. The adoption of this phased campaign seems to offer the best chances of success. In retrospect, the Tribunal's decision to directly assault Citadel Dagoth rather than proceed step by step through lesser objectives must have seemed to have been a serious error. The Tribunal did not feel it had the option of a slow-paced and deliberate campaign, given that they had many other competing priorities, not the least of which was maintaining of the Ghost Fence and the outer defences surrounding Red Mountain. The Nerevarine, on the other hand, should be best served by a careful step-by-step advance, with the additional advantage of building confidence along the way, while success would undermine Dagobert's own assurance in his defences. Employing Kagronev's tools against Dagobert. The source of Dagobert's supernatural power is the Heart of Lorkhan. The Heart is also the source of the Tribunal's divine powers. During mythic times, the gods took and hid Lorkhan's heart beneath Red Mountain as a punishment for creating the mortal plane. The Dreamer discovered the Heart while building an underground colony. High Craft Lord Kagronek created enchanted tools intended to tap the power of the Heart. The War of the First Council was fought to prevent this sacrilege. Kagronek's use of these tools and the disappearance of the Dreamer race marked the end of the war. Kagronek's tools were recovered by Lords Nerevar and Dagobert. Dagobert was left to guard the tools while Nerevar came to consult with us, his advisors in Nerevar's absence. Dagobert experimented with the tools upon the Heart and was corrupted. We returned to discover a deranged Dagobert, who refused to turn over the tools. When he attacked us, we drove him away. We left Red Mountain with the tools, and subsequently Sopha Sil discovered their secrets. Collectively, we used the tools to establish a connection with the Heart, enabling ourselves to transform our mortal natures. Thus we became the Tribunal. Dagobert had survived our attacks, and without the tools in a manner not well understood, Dagobert also maintained an established connection with the Heart, and to transform himself into an immortal being. Our plan to destroy Dagobert also runs the risk of destroying the Tribunal. The plan is to permanently disrupt Kagronek's enchantments upon the Heart, severing connections with Dagobert and ourselves, and rendering us all once again mortal. A mortal Kagronek may then be destroyed by mundane means. The loss of godhood and the possible death of the Tribunal are judged a necessary risk of this sacrifice. The normal procedure for establishing a connection with the Heart is a 3-step progress. The wearer of Wraithguard strikes the Heart with a hammer, Sunder, causing the Heart to produce a pure tone. Then the wearer of the Wraithguard strikes the Heart with the blade Keening, shattering the pure tone into a prism of tone shades. These tone shades are then imprinted upon the substance of the wearer of Wraithguard, giving him an immortal and divine nature. The Nerevarine will not be taught the secret rituals required to perform the 3rd step. Instead, the Nerevarine will strike the Heart with Keening for a 2nd time, causing its tones to diverge into unstable patterns of interference. Further repeated strikes with Keening will further disrupt the tones, with the ultimate result of shattering and dispelling Kagronek's original enchantments, binding the Heart, thereby severing the Heart's links with Dagobert, and with any surviving Heart rights and with the Tribunal. Destroying Kagronek's enchantments on the Heart will also stop the corrupted diffusion of the Heart's divine power, and end the blight of Morrowind. The Nerevarine may be tempted to steal the power of the Heart. Dagobert and Sopha Sil alone know this secret. Dagobert may, in extremity, propose to teach the Nerevarine to use Kagronek's tools to become a god. We doubt that the Nerevarine is fool enough to trust Dagobert, and are content to take this risk. Be warned, the Nerevarine cannot safely equip either Keening or Sunder unless wearing Wraithguard. The Nerevarine will be injured every moment while holding either of these artifacts, unless protected by Wraithguard. persistence will be rewarded with death. If Nerevarine can equip an item while not wearing Wraithguard and receive no injury, the item is a counterfeit. One last note, Dagorthur must not get hold of Wraithguard. The Nerevarine must prepare to use a recall or Almcivi intervention if there is any risk of death or capture. The element of surprise. Dagorthur will not expect you to destroy Kagrenek's enchantments on the heart. He does not know it is possible, he will not do it himself, and he knows that we have never tried it. He will not believe anyone would want to sacrifice the promise of such power. Further advancement in House Dagoth, as in all great houses, is by challenging and confrontation within the hierarchy. The Nerevarine challenges and defeats the Ash Vampires and battles with a 6th house will be viewed in that light. Dagorthur and his kin may assume the Nerevarines' ambitions is to control the heart. Given that assumption, it is only reasonable that the Nerevarine would try to defeat each of Dagorthur's subordinates in turn, working up to Dagorthur. If a Nerevarine can defeat Dagorthur and control the heart, so much the better, but logically, the Nerevarine would wish to rise as high in the hierarchy as possible before cutting a deal with the head of a house. Dagorthur should try to recruit Nerevarine into House Dagoth. It may be possible to pretend to join him and then betray him. However, any attempt to deceive him will be very risky. House Dagoth has a tradition of subterfuge and treachery, and because he is a deceiver, he will expect deception. Closing remarks. We place no compulsion upon the Nerevarine to adhere to the plan described here. We believe that they offer the best chance to destroy Dagorthur, but we have also chosen to place our trust in the Nerevarines' judgment and skill. Frankly, we see no alternative. If there are any doubts or questions, speak with Vivek. He has agreed to serve the Nerevarines' guide and counsellor for this campaign. It may be that if the Nerevarine succeeds, the Tribunal will not survive. Such sentiment as might have been expressed to the Tribunal should, in that case, be addressed to the land and the people of Morrowind. May the happy convergence of fortune and prayer meet in our destiny. On behalf of Lady Almalexia and Lord Sophasil, Vivek. Right, so that is a lot of information. How long has that been? Not sure exactly, I think about an hour maybe. Either way, let's quickly talk about what we have to say then, with this. Just gonna sit in front of Vivek here. How you doing, mate? So then, the two conflicting reports we have on how we died, both of them contain the fact that we were mortally wounded by Jumak, our old friend and enemy. So at least that much is true, it seems. We were basically killed by him, and then the conflicting report is whether or not the Tribunal guards then also finished us off, or whether I was just left to die on my own. So I guess we won't hold it against Vivek. It's not like he murdered us while we were healthy or anything like that. So we've learnt more about the disappearances of the dwarves as well. So one of the things says that it was due to the Tribunal's effects on the heart that made all the dwarves die and get turned into ash, while the other report says that it was Kagrenek who struck the heart, and then that's when they all disappeared. So still no one knows what really happened to the dwarves. It's expected that the true version of that is the version that says that it was Kagrenek himself, because there seems to be more information written in that term. As for our plan at the moment that we learnt, let's go over it again. It should be here somewhere. Yeah, that's the plan. Where is this thing gonna be? Plan to defeat Dagorthur. So then, out of these 5 phases, what are we gonna do? Well, we don't really need to worry about scouting. We'll just look for where we need to go while we're inside. We're not going to keep going in and out, because we'll carry loads of arrows with us when we go in and loads of potions, so we won't really need to conserve anything. We probably aren't going to bother taking down every single House Dagoth place. Like, we could do that maybe before we go and take on the main ones. But really, the ideal thing for us to do is to go and get the 2 artifacts and then go confront Dagorthur. He might be upset with us because we didn't kill all of his other people, but we're just going to confront him as it is and just be like, hey, it's us, this is what we do. Let's head outside. There's that moon that he shot down. Hey, we leveled up from falling, excellent. Let's chat with an Ordinator and see whether they are friendly with us now. Or whether they want to kill us. How about you, lady? I can't talk to you about me. Hi. Faith, law, justice. Walk on. Can I talk to you about being Nerevarine? We have heard of a proclamation. Vivec has removed his curse upon the Nerevarine and has ended the persecution of the dissident priests. Vivec has acknowledged you as the incarnate in Nerevarine and the prophesied saviour of Morrowind and the last hope to withstand the menace of Dagothr in the 6th house. Excellent. Tell us about the local rumours, advice and secrets. You know what I heard about Baron? The other day, he woke up in the temple but couldn't remember how he got there or why he went there. He made a big joke out of it, saying he must have tied one on last night. Okay, whatever. I think he means an Al-Severi score or something. Either way, we're just going to end it here. No, not like that. We're going to end it with... Ah, yeah, that one. Now that's a statue. That's a statue right there, with the sun shining as well. That's a stupid statue, but I love it. So, the next part, you might think that we're going to head straight to Dagothr. Oh, we've actually had this updated. So here are the 3 locations we've been told. That is Dagothr. That is the final dungeon of the game. That's where we put an end to Dagothr and win the game. And here are the other 2, Ordosaur and Verminior, where we're going to get the 2 artifacts we need. But we're not going to be going there next time. Instead, we're going to start... Since we've now basically opened up the final dungeon of the game, like every RPG, we're going to now do side quests. We're going to do the Thieves Guild, the Temple, the Imperial Cult, Great House Hallow, Fighters Guild, Morag Tong, Ashlanders... No, actually, we've already done all the Ashlander and Blade, the Imperial Legion, and the Mages Guild. So we're going to do all our faction quests, and then we're going to go and do both of the 2 expansion areas after we're done with all of these, and then we'll finish up by taking the fight to Dagothr. But at least now we get to have this memento with us all the time, Wraithguard. So when we come back, we're starting to do side quests once again. Have a nice day.